Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Sun is rising, feel the warmth on my face. There's a lot to do now, but there ain't no race. I sip my coffee, I'm feeling fine. No need to work yet, I'm gonna take my time. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way, gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way, gotta take it on my way.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I'm your host. With us, we have Tameka Williamson, leadership strategist and executive coach, professor, best-selling author, international speaker and trainer, and a tax business owner. Welcome, Tameka.
Hi, Kimberly. Well, thank you.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It is such a pleasure to have you on the show with us this evening, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. It's so exciting. And
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me. I'm sorry.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, what I'd like to do is get this started. So could you tell us, the listeners, a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to?
Sure, I'd love to. Now, what I've been up to, we'll be talking for a minute. I'm just kidding. I'm working on a lot of different things, but a little bit about myself. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and my goal right now is to build an empire. That's what I'm focusing on. So everything that I'm doing right now is intentionally driven towards that. But in the grand scheme of things, I am developing leaders for I'm developing leaders for the progressive marketplace. So I do that through leadership development, speaking, training, and coaching as well. And in my ability to do that, it's all about developing them at all levels, from young all the way up to senior level executives, so that they become indispensable in the areas that they are in. That's what I call blaze up leadership. Now I'm expanding how I do business in terms of my model, because my goal right now, my focus is to create a business that is transferable. I want to be able to transfer it in terms of my legacy. I want to make a bigger impact by creating more jobs and helping others create legacies. So when I said that, what am I working on? I'm working on a lot of different things because I'm shifting so that I can grow in that particular area.
Okay, awesome. Wow, you are very, very busy. And yeah, I did notice that you had a great blog with all of these aspiring things that you've been doing to help through the community and getting people up and moving around to start their businesses and keeping them growing. Let me ask you this question. What inspired you, or who has inspired you to do this type of a business?
Well, I've been fortunate to really have some great mentors and coaches along the way. My mom has always been an inspiration to me because she's always worked hard to provide and create opportunities for me. So growing up with that type of role model and discipline that she had given me, it put me in a place to strive to want to do the same thing for others and create the same opportunities for others. So my mom is a very giving person, and people who know me, I'm always giving, and it's just genuinely who I am. And I always like to help people. So everything that I've done has always been, in some shape, form, or fashion, helping others. And so from an inspirational standpoint, my mom, and then over the years, I've had, people like a Michelle Johnson, a Gloria Goins Johnson, as well, who were leaders within organizations that I worked for, who challenged me, who inspired me as well, because they were game changers and pioneers in their own right as well. So there's so many people to name, but those are just a few who have inspired me to keep going, to never give up, and to continue to make a difference and live out my dreams every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, inspiration is definitely what moves and drives us. And I think anyone who's in business truly does want to help any individual to grow and to soar into something that they believe is needed, and you want to be accepted throughout the community. So I think it's awesome that your mother has given you that extra inspiration to move forward and do what you're doing, and now you're paying it forward, so to speak. So that's excellent. The one thing I want to ask you, what have been some of your challenges being in business?
Some of my challenges of being a business owner?
Yes.
I would say, well, okay, one of my challenges I would say is this. I've always been that individual who thought big, dreamed big, and I would come up with some ideas, and people were looking like, "Wait a minute, you really trying to do too much, or you want to do so much?" And I've always thought like that. So I'm that person who will come up with some very audacious goals. But one of the things I can say, like with this tax business, adding this to my business portfolio in this last year, it's been a challenge for me because I came in with some real big goals. I was like, I plan on doing this, this, and this. And I had to realize, okay, wait a minute, it's a process.
Absolutely.
Everything in life is a process. Success is a process. It's a journey to get there. And it's good to have those goals and those dreams and aspirations, but you also have to be realistic, and you have to you have to be patient with yourself to allow the process to work. So you have to be able to cultivate it. You have to be able to let it grow. And just like with anything else I've done, I had to step back and do the same thing with the tax business, because I just thought, well, hey, everybody needs taxes. So I'll be able to meet these audacious goals that I came up with. And one of my mentors was like, okay, so we're going to need to dial this back just a little bit.
Right.
And it was a hard pill to swallow, but that's why you surround yourself with the right people.
Absolutely.
To help you, to challenge you, to check you when you're like stressing yourself out unnecessarily and
Absolutely.
stuff. So that will probably be one of my biggest challenges, because sometimes the things I really want, I want it to happen like right now, and I will work hard nonstop to make it happen. But sometimes I set myself up because it's unrealistic. And I just have to let patience have its way and let the process work itself out. It's not that it can't happen. It's just that I want it to happen sooner than, it's probably supposed to happen.
Right. And I think too that we all are very critical towards ourselves about reaching our goals in a certain format and doing things quickly. And that, puts a lot of pressure on ourselves. One of the sayings that I always have, it's progress, not perfection. So, being a business owner, I definitely understand and hear what you're saying. I think, because even with this business, I started a very short period of time, and, I had these great, huge thought process, and then, it's going to happen overnight, everything is going to work its way through real quickly. And the reality is you learn and understand that you definitely have to find what the needs of the people are, and understand it's okay to change your mind, but you're doing it in an aspect that's going to be beneficial. So I definitely hear what you're saying, and having a tax service, I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. And we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that as we continue to go through this interview. But one thing I want to talk to you about too is tell me some of your successes. What do you think is one of your greatest experiences of being in business that you've had?
Being in business for myself has actually been a great journey, and it's something I would do all over again. I wouldn't take away the bad times, and definitely the good times, because you can't have the good without the bad anyway. I've always wanted to own a business. I just never knew what. So it's been a journey of really figuring out what space I wanted to occupy. I'm an engineer by trade, So I'm a
Okay.
very left brain, logical, analytical thinker.
Mhm.
So that will probably go to another challenge that I have. I
Mhm.
overanalyze everything because that's just kind of how I'm wired. And being an entrepreneur, you can't do that because you get into analysis paralysis. But getting back to the success side, for me, I think the greatest success is really seeing the impact on the lives of others that I've been fortunate to touch through the things that I've done. I believe that we are truly here to make a difference for other people. And it's
Mhm.
all about how you do it and having the right mentality around it. And so for me, I've been able to start multiple businesses. I'm running multiple businesses. You talked about being a best-selling author, writing books to help impact the lives of young people and families, to help them go to college for free. So being able to do things like that and seeing, like now I have a couple of students who's graduating from college this year.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make their graduation. It's a blessing for them to say, no, and Miss Tameka, we need you to be there for our graduation. They're in college, they're great graduate, they went for free. And it's because of the sweat equity, the efforts, and the work of my books and my programs that I had in place that they were able to successfully go through. And it just doing the leadership thing, being able to train and develop leaders throughout the country, internationally, it's great when you get their testimonies and you hear them talk about how their lives have been changed. Last year I got to go to Paraguay and Argentina to
Wow.
train and develop some leaders.
Mhm.
And the result of those relationships and the outcome, those are the things that help me appreciate what I do. And that's what I use to measure success. Is it making a difference in the lives of others? Because if I can make a difference in at least one person's life, then I know that everything that I've done has not been in vain. And that's what's important to me, and that's why I do what I do.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think it's amazing just listening to your story. And like I said, and just researching, reviewing what you've accomplished, your whole goal in life is all about helping others. And that is just a blessing within itself. The one thing I want to ask, if another woman was to go into business, what resource would you share with them and what advice would you give to anybody actually coming to business, but especially to women?
From a business perspective, in general, I would say you need to get a team. So your team is going to be derived of many different individuals. And it's, in a sense, you're going to have like a three-tier approach with your team. You're going to have your inner circle. So these are the people who are closest to you. These are the folks who can challenge you. These are the people who can hold you accountable. These are the individuals who can tell you, hey, that's a great idea. It sounds good, but you know what? That's not going to work. These are the folks you're really going to listen to. So it's not about who your close friends, because people who are your quote-unquote friend, once you go into business for yourself, sometimes you realize they're really not your friend, or they're not supposed to go with you along that journey. But that's a whole nother lesson in conversation. But you got to
Believe me,
really
I
think about,
understand. Yes, yes. Go ahead. I'm
you got to
sorry. Hmm.
pull these credible individuals you can put in your inner circle. So that's one. The next,
Hello?
who's at the level of where you want to go.
Hmm.
You need to have a team of those individuals, because those will be your mentors. Those are people who can help give you advice, who can help counsel you, because they've already been down the path that you're trying to go. So these are the folks who are willing to share information and to help you along the way. So that's another tier of people that you need to have. And then the third tier will be what I call your strategic partners. These are people who could be your coaches, just other successful business people, maybe in different industries. They just have that business acumen or that knowledge base that can still add value to you in terms of helping you make the right decisions and helping you connect to the right resources and just kind of showing you the lay of the land. Now, at some level, you may have to invest in order to connect with those type of people, but that's okay because you're investing in your future. But you got to have a solid team. You have to have the right people, or you got to surround yourself with the right people. You cannot go at it on your own. It's just not going to work. So that's one of the first lessons I will say, always give a person. Secondly, you got to be willing to invest in yourself. And that is not only in books and classes and knowledge, but you may have to hire you a coach. You may have to go buy into somebody's program.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, not buy. You may have to go invest in somebody's program because you're investing in yourself. They're teaching you some things that you wouldn't have never gotten otherwise. It also is a way to connect you to other like-minded people, which helps you to build relationships. Everything in this world functions off of relationships. So you have to get in an environment and in a place where those relationships can be developed and cultivated at the same time. So you got to be willing to invest in yourself. And then third, this is probably more so for the women, because we as women, we don't go after what we want. We don't ask for what we want. We tend to back down. We tend to dumb down our experiences, our knowledge base in the face of others so that we don't come off as too aggressive and all those other labels they like to put on strong business women. Mm-hmm. We have to learn to ask for what we want, go after what we want, negotiate what we want. So we have to be strong-minded, strong in our approach, and walk in confidence. So this is not the time to back down and to be docile in any shape, form, or fashion. Mm-hmm. So those would probably be the top three things I would give entrepreneurs. I'm sorry, one more thing. We cannot do everything in our business. We need to stay in our lane. Exactly. If there's an area that you know you are not good at, you need to plan to allocate resources in those areas. For me, I can give you the vision of what I want, but I am not a creative person. So when it comes to graphic designs and stuff, I'm not going to try to do, I do it to some degree, just some maybe minor stuff, but the major things, no, I'm going to outsource that and have somebody do that for me. I have a graphics person that I go to do all my graphics. I'm not a lawyer. Anything involving something around legal terms, I'm going to go and talk to an attorney about it. So we have to recognize also when we need to invest in other resources and stay in our own lane.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Basically, understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. And that's a big problem for most people that I've encountered who are in business. You know, they come up with great ideas and then they're not willing to invest in the other resources that they need to have in order to be successful, because having an idea is great, but there's so much more involved and attached to that in with any business. So you are definitely right on point. And the other thing that I like that you talked about is the mentoring aspect and being in a circle of like-minded people. That I feel like I preach that every other day. We all understand as being a business owner that you're constantly depending on others, because without those others, you can't be successful. And it's very important to have people around you who understand you, who, are on that same grind mentality, to see you work your way through and what you're trying to get accomplished. So I definitely hear you, and it's just amazing that when you talk to somebody that, it's funny how you always feel like you're alone or you're talking to yourself, but you realize there's so many other people who have absolutely experienced what you're experiencing day in and day out. So yes.
I mean, being an entrepreneur is rewarding, but it's not easy. But it's a path that's worth it. You're going to lose people along the way.
Yes.
And I tell people, you know what, that's okay, because we have to recognize that people come into your life either for a season, for a moment, or for a lifetime. Everybody, as you continue to expand and grow, everybody is not meant to go with you. And that is the lesson I really had to learn, because some people can't handle you being in business on your own.
Right.
There were folks who was perfectly fine with me working in corporate America, making all that money and all that stuff. But once I decided to get out on my own and do some things differently, they couldn't understand that. Well, you know what? That's okay. It's not meant for you to understand, because it's not your life, it's mine. And if they can't understand it, then you have to be willing to keep moving and walk away.
Absolutely.
Even family, you just have to love them from the distance. Because I remember when I first started, I loved my grandfather. He meant well. He always meant well. But, well, don't you want to just go get a job? Why don't you just go get a job? You go get a job, work 5 years. My mom even said it, work 5 years, get a pension and all those things. Okay, yeah, that's great, but that's not my path. That's not what I want to do.
Right.
So you gotta be your authentic self.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times we find ourselves walking off of the path that's been set for us because we're constantly listening to others or letting the fear, be a part of what we're trying to do and accomplish. And so it's absolutely important that you walk the walk and talk the talk, but you're doing it in the right perspective and understand that, people that are in your lives, like you said, if it's not for positiveness, you definitely need to let it go sometimes because it just brings you down and then you're second guessing yourself. And you already know in your heart, if you get up thinking and breathing and eating and sleeping that this is the business that you want to be in, then that's what you should be in, period. It's definitely take the time you need to take in order to make it work, and you're doing that. And the advice that you're giving these other people and other women, they definitely need to listen because you're living that dream. You understand what it takes. So on to the next thing. You talked about that you have a tax business. I want to talk a little bit about the tax business, give us some insight on that. And being that it's that time of year for tax services that we all need to do as business owners and on an individual basis, could you give us a little bit, a few tips?
Sure. One tip I would give is, we got to be organized. And I know people are like, okay, well, some people may think that's a given, but you'll be surprised how many folks are not organized. You cannot get in business and not have any sense of organization. And I mean organization in terms of your record keeping, organization in terms of how you even have your business structure set up. Are you legally set up correctly with the state? Do you have your business bank account set aside? Are you separating your business funds from your personal funds? You need to be organized. Do you have a back-end system, operational system that helps you to track your spending, your invoices, the revenues that's coming in? Organization is going to be key. Organization is what's going to save your life. It will help you stay in business.
Exactly.
So that is one of the key things we have to do is to get organized. And if you need help, get a bookkeeper. Get somebody to help you get set up. You need to have some type of back-end system that helps you to stay organized so that you can track everything.
Mm-hmm.
And because part of that is you got to understand your deductions. As a business owner, there are multiple deductions that you can write off when it comes to tax time. Well, if you're not organized, you're going to have a hard time trying to capture what those deductions are because you can't just go guessing and say, well, I think I did this and I think I had these many miles. And if you have no documentation, if you have no proof, because IRS wants to know, hey, how did you come up with this information? Do you have proof? Can you verify it if you're asked? And you got to be able to say yes as well. We also, as entrepreneurs, we also want to be able to look at the different investments. Well, we want to be able to still invest. That's something that I had to get back into.
Okay.
Because I came into entrepreneurship as a result of going through my second layoff. So, of course, when we're in corporate America, well, I was about to say everybody, but for me, it was a natural practice for me to invest. I had my brokerage account and all these different things. And as an entrepreneur, you're building your business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot more difficult to, invest in your retirement account and all those different things. So I would encourage folks to look at how they can invest, and because that also could become a tax deduction for you as well. So we need to always continue to invest and not discount it and not do it, even if it's just a little bit. You want to make sure you're investing.
Right.
So that's another tip I would say. Definitely keep going. And there's some tools. There's some things I just came across that can help, do that easily.
Okay.
You want to be able to protect your identity as well. As
Yes.
technology continues to grow, we're having more and more identity theft. And as business owners, it's even more critical for us to make sure we protect our identities from the business side and personal side, because that's just a hassle you don't want to have to deal with. And especially from a tax perspective, people are stealing identities on the tax side. They're getting into tax fraud. It's just a battle you don't want to have to fight. So Look at everything that you're doing and making sure you are protecting your identity as well. I'm always telling people maximize your time, maximize your energy, and from a tax perspective, you want to maximize your dollars. So understanding what you can deduct, you also want to make sure you are keen on tax credits. You got kids. If you are investing if you're going to school, there's some type of scholarly tax breaks you could take advantage of. Make sure you stay informed of tax breaks. See if you qualify for the tax breaks. Do you fall under the income threshold? Where you could take advantage of those tax breaks, because I don't believe in leaving money on the table. It's just like when I was in corporate America with vacation. I'm like, they give you vacation. Take your vacation.
Right.
You don't lose vacation at the end of the year. You take advantage of it.
That's
so
true.
The same thing here. Take advantage of any tax credits, any deduction. Don't leave money on the table, because a lot of times people leave money on the table because they don't check to see what tax credit they qualify for, and they don't check to see what deductions they could have been capturing throughout the year. They wait to the last minute, and they hadn't been capturing it. So those are probably some of the top tips I would give.
Right. And the number one tip I would give anybody who is in business, if you don't understand how to do your taxes, you're not an accountant, don't do them yourself. Because,
oh gosh, no. Oh my gosh. I've never.
It just seems to be, something that people don't, they take it for granted, that they think they have the answers, and they think, if they're using some of these new software tools that are available to do their taxes, that they're capturing everything. And the reality of that is not true, because as a tax accountant, you understand the new laws that come out, which you're going to miss if you're not an accountant. There's so many different things and aspects to look at when it comes to getting your taxes done. I always recommend that you have a true accountant do your taxes, spend the money that it takes to get it done, and get it done right. So that's my number one tip when it comes to taxes, because that seems to be something people just take for granted, and I'll never understand that, being a business owner. So wow,
absolutely.
Yeah, so great tips, and this has been an awesome discussion. The one last thing I'd like to ask you is, how can the listeners get a hold of you? Where can we find you?
Well, they can get a hold of me in a couple of ways. If they're calling me in terms of the tax business, they can definitely call Centurion Tax Service at 404-382-7846. And if they want information on me in general, they could just go to my website, and that will connect them to all my social media platforms, and they can contact me from there as well. And that is TamekaWilliamson.com. So TAMEKA Williamson.com.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming tonight. You have any last words for our guest?
What I would just say as a guest just going out, this year my focus is I'm going back to my basketball days, go big or go home. And I will just basically challenge everybody, get out of your own way. Stop limiting yourself. Stop letting others limit you. You never know what you can do until you try. Because the thing is, a person who says I can do it and a person who says I can't do it, they're both correct. So which one are you going to believe? Believe in yourself and go forward and know that you can do it.
Absolutely. That is awesome. Again, I'd like to say thank you for coming on tonight and sharing your story with us. For me, it's just been a pleasure to talk to everyone again and have my listeners out here. You can also reach and find me at the Women's Small Business Initiative at www.wsbillc.com. You can catch me also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until then, have a good night, everyone. We'll be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Thank you.